Can it be? Yes, it's another show right here on BNN TV, all about the movie industry. My guest, Jim Sayer, and myself bring you another program about the entertainment industry right here in the Bay State and also right here in Boston as well. Jim, a very, very special welcome.
Thank you, John. There are a couple of good people here with Bobby Kennedy, who knows how I said a couple of good people and Bobby Kennedy. All right?
We have a lot of fun on we have a lot of fun on set. But actually, one of the important things that we're going to talk about tonight is the motion picture industry. And here, as we are on the cusp of summer, folks, that's right, the solstice is only in a few days, all sorts of activities taking place here in the Bay State, movies in particular. I think of at least 3 or 4 anyway coming up, and we're going to talk about that. Jim's going to give us a little idea about what's happening here. But we also want to invite you, home audience, give us a call with your concerns, comments, ideas, questions. 617-708-3280, 617-708-3280. We're cable casting live right here from BNN TV, Boston, Comcast. We're also cable casting on the RCN television network, and we're also on bnntv.org. And next week we will be on YouTube, meaning that we're everywhere now. Mm-hmm. The show is truly international. Hey, Jim, what's going on?
Hey, John, how you doing?
Good.
Right now we're doing Black Mass.
Okay.
It's been filming for the last 3 weeks. Everybody's anticipating a big showing for everybody because Johnny Depp's in it. I think everybody's going to be very surprised about how Johnny Depp looks. I didn't think he'd look anything like Whitey Bulger. And I've been on the set, and he does look a lot like Whitey Bulger. It's scary sometimes when you see someone like this who's committed so many bad things in his lifetime. But he does look just like him.
Johnny celebrated his 51st birthday last week, too, right?
Yeah, he did.
He did celebrate his 51st. So there's a lot of excitement going on about that in the city, right?
Throughout the whole city. They were filming in Quincy,
right.
Lynn, Cambridge. Was it Lynn? I think.
Cambridge.
Yeah, Cambridge. And
Chelsea.
That's where I showed up.
Chelsea.
South Boston. Yeah, they've been filming everywhere. You know, they're trying to get everywhere that... I did the Triple O's in Cambridge. They used the bar from South Boston. Right. I don't know if anyone's familiar with South Boston back there. Triple O's was just hanging, that's where we used to hang around all the time. Mm-hmm. And they did a bar in Cambridge, and it was they put the Triple O sign out there, and it did look like it. You know?
Now, we have a few other projects coming here in Massachusetts or in locations not far from here, is that right?
Massachusetts, Rhode Island.
Right.
You know, the Vinnie Paz movie, I think, if anyone's interested. That's in Rhode Island, right, Bobby?
The Woody Allen.
It's the Bleed for This, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Are these all feature films?
Feature films,
with
right.
major budgets coming from Hollywood?
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
and Ted, too.
Well, like Bobby just said, Woody Allen's coming up there next month in Rhode Island to film a movie.
And we're going to introduce our guests. Bobby, no stranger to the program. This is your second to third visit with us, and always a pleasure to have you, Bobby, on the program.
I enjoy it every time. We always have a lot of fun, John.
We always do. We're sitting next to each other. We did this for, 8 days in Lowell on a set and had a lot of fun on that, too, right?
It was like being
with Jim, too.
It was like being in lockup. We had a blast. We did.
We had a good time. It was a good experience. And Kevin James was in that film.
Yeah.
And not far from where we're sitting right now, folks, perhaps a quarter of a mile, Jim, if that, Kevin James made another film here called The Zookeeper, which made Boston shine.
It always
really did.
Well, the city's got so much to offer. Right. This is a major city now. I like it to move up a little more. We're not New York and L.A., nor will we ever be. But we could still be up there.
We're getting up there. I think we're getting up there.
That's right.
John Noonan joins us for our very first time. Is that right, John?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And you do all sorts of fun things too, right?
Well, as far as the film industry, you mean?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's right.
Yeah.
You can talk about that too. If
okay. Yeah, I mean, I've been a SAG member since '97, and I got on working on a couple of films with Robert De Niro, just doing background, of course. And then I've had my card since then, but when I left LA, I didn't pay my dues, and then I let it go, and I didn't know that they had an honorary withdrawal system. So if you're not active, you can actually sit out, and not have to pay the $100 every 6 months. But I didn't do that. So when I called them up, this is funny stories, is that I called them up on the phone, and I said, what would I have to pay to get back to good standing with SAG? And they said, $3,000. And I said, I said, I can't afford $3,000. Number one, two, is it going to be worth it for me? You know?
Right, and that's something that we talk about on the program too, because a lot of these films that are shooting here, especially for those of you who want to have a taste of what it's like to be in the movie industry, which is probably a lot of you would be interested in, you don't have to be a SAG member. A SAG after member is the union, and you do have to meet certain criteria to join that. But for those of you, for those of us, all of us that go on these casting calls and these auditions and things like that, not necessarily SAG or after, anyone can do this, anyone can get involved with it. The union affiliation does come at some point, and that's something that we're going to talk about too. Dana
Yes.
McCarriston, right?
That's right.
I say that correctly, right? Well, Dana, welcome
no,
to you.
that's correct, yes.
Okay, you are here for our very first time too, for your very first time.
Very
too.
first time getting into this. I did this in college. I had a
Right.
blast.
Yep.
Had a whole bunch of kids, you know, and I'm like daddy savings and loan now. But then I met Jimmy, who I happen to work with,
Right.
and he got me into this. I followed his instructions. I've been having a blast.
Well, Jim's done a lot. Jim, in the last couple of years, you've done a lot.
Yeah, I've been lucky, fortunate that, you know, that
Bruce
happens.
Willis is stand-in.
You know, that happens.
Really?
When, you know, if things come around your way.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis is standing?
Yeah, I stood in for Bruce Willis.
Wow.
We met each other on the
And-
surrogate
yeah,
set.
Sir Ben Kingsley, I stood
And you
in for.
only
too.
did this on one project, stand in for him? Only one, or how many?
Yeah, he's only been to Boston one time. He did
Did you
surrogates.
consider asking him doing it as a full-time gig? Because I know people that have made a living
You're
by
right.
being a stand-in, big money.
Permanent
Because they look
stand-in?
so
Yeah.
much like the
Yeah,
actual
Morgan
actor.
Freeman, when I did Gone Baby Gone, his stand-in told me he does the stand-in just in the East Coast. Just so you have an East Coast stand-in and a West
West
Coast. That
Coast.
way you don't have to travel
Right.
from coast to coast. And it's something that, like I said, but I have a regular job.
Yeah, and of course, that's part.
That's the thing.
And that's part of the business that a lot of people don't don't realize too. So Dana, what else? This is your first, sort of your first venture
Well,
outside
I mean,
college.
he got me into a whole bunch of stuff. It's funny, you know, you put your information in, and they call. It's easy. You know, you show up, you're an extra, but you take direction from the director, and you've got their crew, but, you know, collectively with 20 people, 9 people, 8 people. And, you know.
And it's and all of us have worked on that too. And when you watch these movies, aside from the main actors and the ancillary actors, when you watch all of these people, even though they're extras, they don't look like actors. They look like real people. They look like real people doing what real people in these positions do.
They have a job to do.
They have
you
a job
know,
to do, and they do it.
And it's all part of the movie, you
Right.
know?
Right.
So,
And that's what a PA's job is to do, is to make
sure you
everybody
do what you're
looks like
supposed to,
this.
right.
That's right. And that's what they do. I mean, a lot of times we listen to them and they say a lot of things to us. And we're like, oh, not again. But again and again. That's why these movies are so successful. You know? It's not only the director
Right.
and the producer, it's the PAs who put the right people in the right spots.
So the New England studio, do you think that has something to do with all of these additional movies coming here? Of
I
course,
think
it doesn't hurt, of course.
Right. I think it helps. Anything helps. Anytime you have a studio system.
What'd you say, new studio?
The New England
England
studio.
New England studio.
Chris Byers was here a few months ago. Jim and
Right.
I had
He's-
interviewed him, and there's a studio in it's called Devon's, right? Devon's Studio, which does pre-production, post-production, and filming. I haven't had the chance to
No,
be
we
here
were
yet.
supposed to go out there.
Right, to do a
And
project
we-
on it.
and,
pretty big building, nice place.
Yeah.
Where's that located?
Fort Devon's.
Right in
Oh,
Fort
Fort
Devens,
Devens, okay.
Right, and it's supposed to be, like I said, years ago, well, before they had the building, they used to send everything back to New York or LA for all the work to be done. Now they just send it right up to Devon's. Instead of, wait weeks, now you wait days, and you get the same result. And that's why the movie people are looking at that, because it saves them money.
Right.
Well, that and tax breaks. I mean, they're
Which
getting
is
huge tax
right,
breaks.
which is something else we're going to talk about because
Okay.
that's so important.
Yeah.
Right,
you
right.
know. So Dana, how did you get your feet wet in this business?
I got my feet wet in it a long time ago. I went to Curry, and I was like a management major, you know?
Right.
Started taking a course, and I just got into it, you know what I mean? I directed a play there and had more and more fun with it. Now I do this, like kind of my own thing. I pick pieces that are like very difficult, that I find them very difficult, you know, like Hamlet. And I'm working on the Telltale Heart right now. It's a very difficult piece. And I do it.
Sounds like serious drama.
Well, look, I do it, I look at it, And I usually say that's pretty terrible, that's horrible. But I got some stuff on YouTube, but he was a genius, that guy Poe, you know.
Well, that's something we like to do, Dana, is plays and stuff like that. I know you like to do that.
I love it. I love it.
And that's the best training.
Yeah.
That's the best training. You know, I did a few projects in New York, and you can't beat the training in front of a live audience. And this is great too, and also film and television. But being in front of a live audience with people looking at you, improv sometimes comes quite unexpectedly.
Yeah.
But I think you have one shot.
One shot, right. The most difficult, and Jim, I don't know how you feel about this. I know you've done a lot of projects too, and I've never done this. I've done comedic acting on stage. I've never done stand-up comedy. And Jim and I have had people that we know on this program, and I've known a lot of comics myself, and I can't think of anything more difficult, quite frankly.
Yeah, we had Tyrone on, and he still does it. He's doing, I think he has one next week somewhere. And he tells us, you know, when he goes out there, he knows when he's bombing.
Right.
And he says there's nothing you can do about it. You know, he knows when the audience is giving him that steely look, and he's looking back at him saying, I got to be funny. One of these jokes got to catch the audience.
So Dana, that's baptism by immersion, I would say, right? Right on stage.
That's how it was for me, you know. I mean, what can I tell you? I really liked it, you know. I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was pretty much over. But now I'm getting older, you know, and like I say, I met him, followed his instructions, and by God, I went to see the movie, and the back of my head lit up the screen for maybe a third of a second.
But you enjoyed doing it.
It was
right?
pissa.
Yeah, you enjoyed doing it. John,
Yes, sir.
what are you doing now?
I'm not doing anything. In fact, you know, like I was telling you earlier that, you know, I lost my SAG card, but I had my situation reviewed after I wrote them a letter. And so they dropped the price tag significantly.
Okay, but you can still do projects, still be
well, I'm back reactive
Right.
with SAG, but here's the thing: is I only get contact by the two casting directors
Right.
that control the Boston area for background work. There's, you know, two major casting directors that do all the background casting, and you know who
Right.
that is. So if they don't call you, then you don't work, basically. And so I haven't worked, so I submitted to be honorary withdrawal.
Right, but
because I'm not getting any work. It's not
and
worth it.
there's a lot of different things going on too. There's a lot of independent film projects. I know, Bobby, you've done a lot of.
I believe you have to make your own smoke, you know.
Yeah, you've done a
You
lot.
can't sit back and wait for a major production and say, yeah, that guy. So we all get together, other actors. There's a lot of talent in Boston, and we do short movies. John J Fahey is a great writer. So I hooked up with him. He's a good friend of mine, and he writes some pretty nice stuff. We've got 2 or 3 projects in the works, and you know, you have to do something, you know. You just can't sit back and say, wait, did my agent call?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I don't even have any.
Yeah, but you've done a lot of. You've done independent film.
Yeah.
You've done features.
Yeah, I have. And
You're doing a webisode now? Is that
I'm doing a webisode called Fedoras, set in the 30s, 1930s, you know, as far back as I can remember. So I play a wise
I'm sure it fits.
gangster, you know. And we've done 8 episodes, and we just released the first one. But it's in Connecticut, directed by Dana Wine Howard, written by John J Fahey. Billy Vigilant's in it.
Yep.
Me and Billy and a few other good actors, and we have fun, you know. And they'll all be coming out, so you'll see how bad I am, you know, in the new episodes, you know.
And I always say, when you do independent films, which I think is fabulous, it's a great idea, is get yourself out there. That's what you
Yeah.
want to do, because these movie people, sometimes they don't give you the opportunity to see what you can showcase.
And then you can pull clips from these, you know, pull your best work and put it together, get a reel together. You have to have a reel and submit it. It's a business.
I agree with everything you're saying.
It's a business.
I agree with what you're saying, especially if you want to be, you know, not just a background person.
Yeah.
You know?
When you were in LA, what did you do?
I did everything. I worked behind the camera. I worked on movie set construction units, like Dante's Peak. Remember that film? They had a huge construction budget for that.
So you've done both in front of camera and behind camera.
Yes, I
too.
have. Yes,
Okay.
I've been a production assistant on, you know, as a lead guy to do, you know, props and stuff
Right.
like that on low budget films like you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, out there it was more common, of course. You know, you could look through the you know, was it the Hollywood Reporter or something like that.
And Variety.
In the Variety, and find jobs coming up, you know. And from what I hear out in LA from friends of mine that are Teamsters who have worked, you know, out there since the 90s and before then, they have to move up, go out of state to continue to work.
Because there's so much going on all over the United States, too.
Outside of Southern California.
Yeah, and that's happening here, right here in Massachusetts. 617-708-3280. 617-708-3280. Jim Sayer and myself, we are talking about the motion picture industry, and we would like to have your comment, your concerns, any issues you want to talk about. 617-708-3280. Kenny, when we worked on the film, Here Comes the Boom, there was another film shot in that same location called The Fighter, which did equally as well.
Did very well.
And so the venues here are used a lot for movies as well. And we talked about the zoo right down here at Franklin Park Zoo. And I can't think of a better location. You have the 4 seasons. You have summer, winter, spring, and the fall. And you have an enormous amount of projects, not just only in the summer months, but we think back of Love Story and look at the locations shots there as well, and the Friends of Eddie Coyle. To bring movies here requires a lot. Tax breaks are important, and that's something that we're talking about all the time. And it's important for people in this state, and it's just not for the motion picture industry, it's for everybody, it's for tourism in particular. Bring the motion picture industry here, give local actors a chance to ply their trade, local businesses to do business, and also, folks, and this is so important, especially for Boston, especially for Massachusetts, where tourism is pretty much like number one, it makes the state look good in movies, and people want to come here and visit.
That's right.
It's so important. Tax breaks, folks. How do we get those? Well, contact your state senator and your state rep and say, keep those tax breaks coming. Make sure we keep those coming right here to the Bay State. Right, Jim?
That's correct,
Can I ask you a
Yep.
question? As far as the agreement with the Screen Actors Guild and the production companies that come into Boston, what is their responsibility towards Screen Actors Guild personnel, like getting work? Are they only obligated to 1 day, 2 days? Do you
I don't know about that, Jim. Would you? Do you know a little more about that? I'm not quite sure myself.
Are you trying to explain to the reason why they hire a certain amount of people?
Why the SAG actors are getting hired for 2 or 3 days on one particular movie that's going to last 6 months, then hire non-union people, pay them half the money, and have all non-union
Because as far as my understanding goes, there's so many SAG people per film. Is that right?
That's right. When they sign the contract to film here, one of the things they have to do is put down a percentage of non-union and union people.
Okay.
They all have a budget. If a $50 million movie comes here, they have to make sure they stay within $10 million either way. And of course, it costs a lot more to hire SAG actors than a non-union. So in the agreement, the percentage is usually higher for non-union people. They're going to hire a lot more non-union to keep under the budget. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to hire, 75-25. It could be 60-40, or it could be 55-45. It all depends on the movie and how big the budget is.
And it's also important to bring those movies here because it's giving people who aren't union a chance to be in film as well. A lot of people don't have any idea of how this works. You just apply to a casting agency, or you go on the casting call when there's an audition being held, and you fill out your profile, your information, send it to the casting company, and hopefully you'll be called. It's as simple as that.
And like Bobby, he does a lot of independent films.
Right.
And I always say on the show here, one of the first things I think the SAG union should do is support independent films. And if by doing that, they can get back, if they makes money on the back end or something, they can, pay them back. And that's a good idea, I always think, because you can put a lot more people to work if the independent films come out. And there's a lot of them, and a lot of them are good movies too.
A lot of them are
but they're not getting the chance because of the money. Money's the
Well,
bottom line in the budget.
I might ask you, like, where do you get your funding? How do you go about getting funding?
Getting for an independent film? Well, that's a good question. We've had an enormous amount of people on this program, and David Garfield. They do private fundraisers because they're responsible for doing this themselves. And people may think, well, it doesn't cost that much to make a film. Oh, yes, it does.
Yeah.
Well, you make a feature film, you're talking about $100 million, $80 million, $50 million. When you're talking about an independent film, not necessarily a student film, but an independent film that like David Garfield might be involved with, he's trying to raise thousands just to make ends meet, because it does cost money.
It does.
Even if people aren't paid for it and it's deferred payment, it costs money to do this stuff.
And John and Dana, both of them want to be directors. They both want to come out here and showcase their stuff. And it costs money. You just can't do it. Wake up one day and say, "Let's start filming." It's a lot of money to be.
Yeah.
Also, and it's also something that we'll take to Dave Garfield, for example, and yourself, because you've been involved with a lot of projects. It's not just directing; it's writing. Well, the producing part is the money part. It's writing and directing, everything from makeup and what you name it, they do it. So it's like a one-man operation, even though you have people around you. So it's a challenge.
Yeah,
it's a challenge.
I have a feature film that I'm trying to get produced.
Okay.
My partner on it is an executive producer from Everybody Loves Raymond.
Okay.
And so it's my story, and I did the first couple of drafts, and then I tossed it to him. He looked at it, and he liked the story, enough that, and that, then I guess my writing was good enough too. So, combine that, and we've done a bunch of drafts.
So give us an idea, just for the sake of ourselves too, so that we'll know, and also for the home audience, because they're sitting home saying, how does something like this get? Well, it all comes from an idea.
Yeah.
But how does something like this actually get on paper, get past the executives, and then get on film so that we can see it in the movie theater?
I had a solid answer for you on
Right,
that, but
right.
I can tell you what is, first of all, like you said, getting it on the paper is the
Right.
first thing you got to do.
Well, you had the story idea.
Where's it coming from? It comes from, for me, it comes from my personal experience.
Right.
It's something that happened in my life, and so that's what I draw from. It's either that or history usually.
Or a combination of both
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I mean, but and if you have a certain way about you that makes you unique, like a sort of sense of humor or something like that. Whatever you are, you got to get it on the paper. Whoever you are creatively, and whoever your characters are. So
And see, this is the creative element that a lot of people. This is the spark that starts it. It's the
Sure.
creative element,
Absolutely.
and something that you have that nobody else has, that people are attracted to, and is appealing, quite frankly.
Thank you.
No. In general, that's what I'm saying. That whatever is
compliment.
appealing.
The backhand, yeah.
Whatever is appealing to you. I mean,
Yeah,
that's.
no, I'm
that's-
sincerely thank
yeah.
you. Yes, I
It's
appreciate
not,
that.
like you say, when you started in L.A., so
Right.
you might have learned from other people out there.
Oh, I
You
did,
might
I
have
did
saw a
learn.
lot of
Like I
people
said,
out
I
there.
mean, the guy that I did the rewrites with is a professional writer. He
Yeah.
worked on that show for 10 years. It's one of the biggest shows on television.
But the one thing that we have, and Jim and I see this all the time
Yeah.
when the people come on, because we've had a lot, in the last couple of years we had many people come on the show, and they all get involved with trying to do something like that. And, and for the most part, they're very successful in the realm of what they're doing. It's just getting it out there so that
Yeah.
it gets out there.
Yeah, well,
That's the
it's
point.
hard. I see websites now. There's all kinds of media options, right? Where you can, option your script. You gotta after you get done and you know that it's in its final form that you're
Right.
happy with. You should protect it by putting
Copyright.
it, by copyright, or simply registering it with the Writers Guild. And there's one on the East Coast and one on the
Because
West
we've
Coast.
seen in the last couple of years in the legal world, people's work credited with other people, and people saying, "Oh, that's mine, and this is mine, and that's mine." But you've done a lot of work. It seems like
Yeah, well, you mean the writing?
the whole
Oh,
thing,
yeah,
trying to
I've
get
done-
everything done.
Yeah, I spent 5 years in Los Angeles, because...
I've noticed you've got some
Yeah.
pictures of
Yeah.
things that you've taken here.
Yeah, well, I worked on a low-budget movie with Pat Morita after
Yep.
his Karate Kid days. That's him and I having a little drink after shooting for a day.
And I see George Kennedy over there too.
And I happened to see George Kennedy, him and Don Rickles, was that right
right
here.
there.
I saw them while they were shooting on the lot at Warner Brothers in Burbank. They were shooting Dennis the Menace too.
Yeah.
And I knew I was planning on leaving LA. I didn't know if I was coming back or not, or what my deal was going to be. So I had my camera because I also had friends who I played ball with every day on the lot at the studio.
Tell them who
That
you
was-
played ball with.
That was my way of networking.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I
he
can't
wants
think of
to-
I can't think of a better way of
He played with George Clooney
Judge Clooney?
No way.
every
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
Was it once a week or twice?
Yeah, he was
a week?
doing ER at the time.
Really?
And so, just about every day we played together. In fact, I got this scar right here from him with his elbow,
Yeah.
Which was an accident. Yeah. I faked him out. I got a rebound. I faked him out like I was doing a down court pass. He leaped in the air, and I went to run around him, and gravity brought him down, caught one right here. I thought I was sweating, to be honest with you. And I was sweating already because we had played a few games. And he's chasing me down the court going,
Right.
Johnny, come here. I'm like, what, George? What? And so he goes, you're bleeding. I go, and then I felt the, I thought it was sweat drip into my eye, and I wiped it out, and I got a handful of blood. I'm like, I guess I am bleeding, right? So next thing you know, I'm sitting on a bench waiting for an ambulance. I didn't really need an ambulance, but he's holding a towel on my head while we're waiting for the ambulance.
But
to come.
that's a nice little contact and a nice experience too. But hopefully it'll pay off for you someday.
Yeah, I haven't seen George, since I left LA, but him and I were on first name good, terms. We weren't best friends, but we knew each other.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And this was just as he was leaving ER for the most part. I mean, he was, that was his
Right.
big thing.
Right.
And then he was off and gone, pretty much. I'd see him run into him here and there on a lot when he was doing that movie with Mark Wahlberg. What was that? The Perfect Storm.
Right.
He did.
Right.
He was doing that, and then he was jumping off into feature films. So, but
So
yeah.
you got a lot going. Dana, what about yourself? Are you currently involved with the project?
No project.
No.
My own project.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Talk about that.
My own project is what I do. It's the Telltale Heart. I've looked at what everybody else has done, and it's a crazy
Edgar
monologue.
Allan Poe.
It's a long monologue. That to do it would be like an hour, which you're not going to do that. But that's what I do. I put it on YouTube and try to perfect it.
Right. Now, for the benefit of our home audience, a monologue, meaning one talk that the actor usually does to sell himself or sell herself to the casting person. Is that right?
Yeah, that's a tough.
That's usually what it is. I mean, a monologue, or you feed off of the casting director. That's usually what I've seen in an audition. When you get an audition.
Yeah, that's what it is. I did a monologue for Carolyn Pickman and Ann Mulhall, Joe Pesci and De Niro at the table, and I think that's what got me the way they called me in for Black Mass to read for. I read for senior FBI agent. Haven't heard anything, but I checked IMDb. They haven't cast it yet. But Jim tells me to call in a lot of people in from L.A.
L.A. and New York.
But they need some Boston actors. I mean, this is a Boston
And Boston
movie.
accents, too.
Yeah.
That's what they're looking
Right.
for.
It's not just the accent, because there's a difference between attitude. I mean, there is an East Coast, West Coast attitude, but there's a difference between New York and Boston, and I think
Without
that
a
you're right.
doubt, without a doubt. And
Yeah.
they need this in this movie. They really do need some Boston.
And that's the attraction.
You
That's
would think
the location.
You would think
Right.
the majority of the people would be
Right.
from this area, but from what I hear, it's not. And which is sad, because these parts here aren't. You have to be Johnny Depp or Al
Right.
Pacino,
No,
Jack Nicholson.
right.
You
No.
can just be a
It's just
regular
gotta be good
actor your
acting,
first
yeah.
time out there and nail it. That's all you got to do.
Right, and that's why I don't understand why they don't have some local Boston
do you
actors.
want-
Because after this movie's made, what do you think people are going to say? There wasn't any Boston actors. The Boston accent was terrible.
I can give you my thinking, my theory on why they're doing it. Is because there's a lot of nepotism within this business. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and so
I
what
don't
happens is
disagree, yeah.
they want to bring their friend in, and I don't know if how much they paid to have them transported here to come here and do 3 lines when they can have a local Boston actor do the work and do it probably
So they're
more
already.
efficiently.
So many of them are already cast in L.A. or New York.
They're definitely cast,
bad.
even at the lowest level. Do you know Pat Coppola? You guys might know him. He's an independent filmmaker from the area too. He lives in Stoneham. I helped
I
him
know the name.
in
I
the
can't
years
picture the
years
face.
ago in the '90s. I helped him do a low budget movie.
Yeah.
And he gets called in because they know him at the.
Well, I think taking the workshops are important too, and a lot of people may say, "Well, what's that?" Well, it's taking workshops and classes and things so the casting agents
Yeah,
will know who you are.
I have a conflict of interest with that as well. There are people that teach classes for those two casting directors, right? But they're members of the union too. And then there's a misconception that the people that are going to go do those classes at the money that they ask for is a lot of money for some people. That's a lot of money, and it's a misconception that, well, if you go take one of my classes, maybe I'll consider you for a role. They need to be clear on that just because you're doing my class doesn't necessarily mean we're going to consider you for a role.
Dana, you get a lot of hits on Facebook with what you have out there?
No, not many. I'm hoping this brings it up a little bit.
Well,
Hey, listen, I'm just being honest.
That's fine. I
Yeah.
can appreciate
If
honesty.
if people are watching this tonight, how would they get onto Facebook? How would they access your
Dana McCarrison, Telltale Heart, you get it. I just did one a couple days ago.
What is your project anyway? I mean, we really didn't talk too much about
There's
it.
no project. I look at stuff like, and it doesn't ring true with that particular thing that I've seen, So I'm trying to bring life to it, if it's even possible. I don't know, I'm just doing it as a hobby. It interests me, and it's amazing what interests people. It's not the everyday thing, It's not Ralphie delivering newspapers and the lady gardening, It's what happened in this guy's life. They want what's interesting.
And this is what's selling the story, all of these ideas.
Sell the story or reality shows, it all fascinates me.
Would you like to hear what my script is about?
Please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in '95, I was driving a cab in the local Boston area. And it was kind of slow during the summer months, And a friend of mine, he got hired as a driver to take a group of foreign exchange students on a cross-country trip, right? So his trip was from New York down to Key West. And then they lost the driver at the last minute for another whole, tour going from Boston down across the down south, and then across the southwest all the way out to LA. And so when the idea was given to me, when my friend approached me with the idea of, jumping in and, doing the replacement driver, he said all I had to do was follow another driver who was doing the same trip. So we had 2 coach vans, and then we had U-Haul trailers on each one, because sometimes we stayed at a campground, and sometimes we stayed at a hotel. So while we were on the trip, the guy got mad at me because we had a blowout party in a motel across from the river in New York. And so he said, screw me, basically, you're on your own. I go, you can't do that, but he did it. So I saw him at, when we stopped at each predestined location on an itinerary, at night or whatever. So, we'd see each other, every day or whatever. I had to figure out by reading maps, and because there was no GPS or
At that time,
At that
right.
time, So I had to figure that out, and then I had 15 people, 18 to 24 years old, 10 hot girls, okay, that are, all around me the whole time. So I'm having a hard time focusing on driving and doing that. And they had a chaperone, but she didn't speak any English. So my nickname for her was Useless, okay? And so I had to, be the captain of the ship of people who didn't speak, much English, and I didn't have, my what do you call it? The chaperone, my, second in command was, like I said, useless. So I kind of demoted her and got one of the students, which was one of the beautiful girls, of course, to be my executive officer, so to speak, on the ship. So we went and saw the whole country. It was like a great adventure. I've never done nothing like that before. You go down across down into the south United States. You see history from the Civil War periods and stuff like that, and then out west. I had never gone that far out west, out to LA, but saw the Grand Canyon. And so it was like, it's an adventure with romance and comedy, all in that one story.
You got paid for it?
Huh?
And you get paid?
No, I haven't. I'm still
He's
trying to
still
get it
work-
produced.
you're
I'm
still-
No, I mean, you got paid for the job, driving?
Oh, for driving, yeah, I did.
The
yeah.
chaperone knew 2 words. No touch.
Well, don't touch anything was really, what my cousin said to me, because he knows, how I
Yeah,
am.
but the one thing that you've got the basic idea. That's the premise,
Right.
and that sounds like it might be an interesting project.
Whenever I've told people that story, I mean, I've told it differently, as time, from here to there. I'm a little bit nervous because I'm not used to being on a show, on a TV show. But
We all get nervous.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is when I've told people the premise, like you said, of my
Right.
script, they go, that sounds like a great story, and that should be a movie. They say to me, I say, you telling me that? Thank you, because I did write a script,
Where is it now? In the
Well, we're trying to go through my it's like you said, like where do you bring it?
Great.
And it's like he has an agent. My partner, Steve Scrovan, that's his name. And
this is a literary agent?
no, he has a literary agent.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going through his literary agent because I don't have anybody.
Right.
I've thought about, we talked about George earlier. I thought about trying to reach out to him somehow through his publicist. You know what I mean? Because I don't have his phone number. You know what I mean? And I know that George said to me when we used to hang out, he goes, I'm always looking for good material, And I believe him, you know what I mean? So, I haven't, but I thought that we would have had success by now, and we've done like 5 different drafts, to where the story's changed, in certain ways. But
Sounds like it could be a fun story.
Even a series.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Yeah.
could see that like
Sure.
a
Yeah.
series.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you written anything, Bobby?
Me, no. I leave the writing to John K. Fiore. He's a great writer. I wouldn't even attempt to.
We've done a show with him.
I just give him the ideas and let him run with it. I'd rather just act. Really.
John Fiore, is he the one that was on The Sopranos?
No.
Oh.
That's why I say John K. Fiore,
Oh,
so
okay.
as not to get confused.
Yeah,
With,
because I know him too. And, yeah.
So you have an eclectic background too in the industry.
What's that?
You have an interesting background in the industry too.
I guess you could say that. Yeah, I mean, it's I lived in LA for 5 years, and I used to go sneak on the lot at Warner Brothers by playing basketball. I mean, I had a part-time job on the lot for a little while,
Yeah.
but then I just knew how to get on the lot and go over and
But
play
it seems
ball.
like there's a lot going on here too. There's a lot going on in Boston as well, and the emphasis on filmmaking is moving east, like East Hollywood. That's
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice. Obviously, I'm just not. I'm agitated about the whole SAG thing, even if it's just background work. You know what I'm saying? Where and then and to avoid, I really believe that okay, you're going to stay within a budget. We understand budgets. But you should be able to pay if you're a signatory with the Screen Actors Guild, you should be obligated to that. I don't know, like I said, I don't know what the exact obligations are contractually.
and I don't know myself enough to talk about
And
that.
it is good that, like you said, for people that are non-union that want to come
Right.
on, even just for the experience to see, what it's like.
Right, and a lot of people who watch this show are saying, hey, I'd love to do that. I'd love to get involved with the movie industry, the feature films and everything. And it's not too late, folks. We have several projects shooting here. And now, Jim, do we have a date for any casting for the Woody Allen film or any other projects?
I don't believe so. I don't think they have come out with some. I know it starts in July, but I don't think that's going to be a big budget. Woody Allen films are
Usually
notoriously
not.
small
Right.
budget films. There's not too many people in it, and it's just...
Why is he making a film here? He usually stays within the confines of New York City. It's interesting that he's making a film here.
I don't know. A lot of people in Rhode Island are happy.
It's
Of
probably
course,
it's
you know?
possibly like you said earlier, like the tax credit thing. The tax credit thing is a big deal.
Right, right.
Well, they have different in
And I
Rhode
don't think
Island.
you
In
get
Rhode
it-
Island's different.
See, this is Rhode Island.
This is Rhode Island. They don't have the
Oh,
Massachusetts
so I didn't
tax.
know that's where they're
Right.
shooting. I thought you said
Well-
we were going to shoot in Boston.
Well, they're in the region.
Okay.
There's several films coming here, but Woody Allen is coming to Rhode Island, but it's still considered close enough that we include it.
Now, you guys were talking about, I'm big on independent, but
Right.
you got to have a budget, like you said. Let me ask you this: have you guys seen the movie Sideways with Tom Hayden Church and Paul Giamatti? Have you ever seen that?
No, I haven't.
Well, aside from those two guys who are pretty well known, you know who they are, right? Actors.
Yeah.
Aside from their paycheck, it's all the writing and the acting that's carrying the movie. So, aside from paying your crew and the four major characters, what do you have to do for a budget?
That's what I'm saying.
The
That's
budget,
why.
the budget includes a lot of stuff,
Right.
from food from permits to take out that you have to, I know the famous one they shot in Charlestown. They didn't take the permits out, didn't notify the Boston police, and the guy was running around with a gun, and they called 911 and they arrested him.
This is for
He's
an
lucky he didn't
independent.
get
This was
killed.
independent film, yeah.
And that's why the people who,
You know?
who do these projects need to be up on all of these different
That's
things.
right.
That's so important.
There's
to do
rules
that.
and laws you got to obey
Rules
by.
and laws, and we're as a populace here in the state, we're a little more savvy now because of all of these movies coming here. But it's very important. If you shoot a film, you need to make sure you know what you're doing, and that's very
That's
important.
right.
And we do have, in fact, a lot of the young students from Emerson College who watch this show are involved with student films as well, and they're always shooting
Yes, they are.
some interesting projects.
They're good.
So a very special welcome. Jim and I extend a very special welcome to all of the
Emerson
students
College.
at Emerson College. Congratulations to all of the graduates, and also a very special hello to a friend of mine, Selena, who's watching the show tonight. I know, Selena, you are watching the show tonight. Very special welcome to you and to all of the people watching on BNN TV, Comcast in Boston, RCN cable system here in Boston, also bnntv.org, and for all of our viewers on YouTube, because now we are international. We are all over the world. Is that right, Jim?
That's correct, John.
And in the last, folks, I don't know where the time's going, the last 15 minutes here in the program, give us a call, 617-708-3280, 617-708-3280. We're talking about the motion picture industry and the movies that are coming right here as we are right on the cusp of summer.
And Ted
Ted
2 is
2.
coming.
Right.
I believe that's coming in September or October.
Okay.
They're supposed to, I think
Is
Mark-
Seth MacFarlane doing that too?
Yes, he is.
Is he?
And Mark Wahlberg's doing a movie now, so they pushed it. I think it was supposed to start in July here. But I think because he's doing Terminators 2 or something like that.
Right,
He'll be taking off into
Arthur,
October.
his brother Arthur, was on the program a couple of months ago.
Yes,
we
he
had
was.
we had a good experience with that.
Yes.
And if he's watching the program, hello to Arthur. And David Garfield, too.
That's correct.
And Jennifer Gillametti. Very special hello to you. 617-708-3280, 617-708-3280. Bobby, what else is going on?
Well, just I'm working on my cellar. I'm making a studio in a man cave. I'm digging out my cellar.
Oh, that sounds actually very interesting.
Yeah, I've been on it for 4 months, man. Talk about hard work. An old cellar in Cambridge. I dug the floor, regrouted the foundation, moved heaters and everything. Just I'm putting a kitchen, a bathroom, and a little studio. Yeah.
Getting yourself in shape for the next big production, right?
Well, I actually lost weight. I'm carrying buckets of dirt out the window. I'm working like, one of the old timers, like my grandfather used to work, But I enjoy hard work, I feel better when I put in a day's work,
Feels like exercise too,
Yeah,
right?
it's, I don't have to go to the gym. I just lift
That's
buckets
it.
of dirt
Yeah,
out
yeah.
past
Are
the
you
Well,
low,
that could
are you
be-
low in the cellar?
Yeah, about 10 inches, yeah.
That could
That's
be
tough.
a role in itself, Bobby. A role in
Well,
itself.
someone said to me, you could get guys to do that. Just do an independent film like
That's right.
doing your basement over, cast for cement guys and, like...
I'm wide open.
Is that what you are?
That's my specialty.
In Dorchester, where Jim and I lived, 40 years ago, this old house had its premiere there.
I
And
know
that
it was.
became, and that's what that was all about. It was
Yeah,
all
yeah.
about the rehab
Yeah.
of a house right next to St. Peter's Church. And that became phenomenally successful
Yeah.
on PBS television. Phenomenally successful.
Those guys do amazing work, too. They have some talent in that show. These guys are all...
And people relate to this because people are sitting home and many people have cellars just like yours.
Yeah. Well, for 30 years, it just sat there with a bunch of junk. And, I started digging through it. I found antiques. I had coin collections I forgot
That you've
about.
forgotten all about.
Yeah,
Dana, now you've got a good background in the arts. What do you see yourself doing in the next year or two?
Well, this is what I thought, and I'm kind of glad you asked. I think about what's a hit show, what's not a hit show. Nowadays, if you get a hit on YouTube, it's kind of like opening the door, And I think stuff that's crazy, people like the crazy element,
Like a Seinfeld type thing? Or?
That's not crazy enough. That's not, that was good, but I thought, think about it, talk about it collectively, especially some old timers like us, and people want to see you do something that you don't normally do. They like it when you're rude to somebody, when you're overly kind to somebody, like this, what is this?
Well, it's kind of being,
this
what
is-
you're saying is over the top.
Like
Over the
Don,
top.
like a Don Rickles,
Over the top.
like Don Rickles and his nightclub
Oh,
act. We're going to talk
yeah.
about that.
Over
in a-
the top.
Awesome, yeah.
Do we have a phone call, Jim?
I believe we got one, John.
Can we have your question, please? Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. And my name's Paul, and I love the show. And I hope it keeps on, keep on, and I love it. You know, and I'm really into it.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much for calling in and talking to us.
Excellent.
617-708-3280, 617-708-3280. You know, folks, we only have about 8 more minutes left on the show, and give us a call, 617-708-3280. Our next show is coming up on July 11th, so Jim, put that on your social calendar,
Have it,
July
John.
11th, Friday night, 8 o'clock, and give us a call, 617-708-3280. We could probably only take a call or two before we end. Our operators are standing by.
Sounded like Lenny Clark.
I don't know. Was it? It may have
voice.
been the voice.
voice.
It
A
could
little
have.
bit, yeah.
It could have been.
He's a comedian. He would do something like that, you know.
He's out of Somerville. So he's in Cambridge,
yeah.
Somerville.
Grew up with my brother.
Yeah, you're right around yours. I
Yeah,
say
my-
Cambridge, Somerville
hung with
area.
my younger brother, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So what's crazy enough?
I thought make a show called The A-Holes, where you just go in and you're just arrogant as can be and just go into crazy situations and invite anarchy.
Over the top, you mean? Like totally over the top?
Is that crazy?
No.
I don't.
It's something that would.
Well, I think that nowadays, in the last 10, 15 years, with YouTube, anything's possible.
I know, yeah.
Yeah,
They'll
like
put anything on.
50 years ago, it
Yeah.
might have been.
But that's not creativity, that's just people being stupid.
That's
and
shock
putting it on-
value,
Yeah,
right?
shock
Shock
value.
value.
But
right.
some of them
Is that-
do well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, look at the guy at the Las Vegas airport, right? He was stuck there all night, which I thought was amazing because the place was deserted. Because I remember Vegas, you'd never find that airport deserted. But he was there all night by himself. So he put his phone up, his video, and he started singing this song. I can't even think of the name of it. And it went viral on YouTube. You know, I'm all by myself. You know that song, and he sang it. You know, it went nuts. It went viral on YouTube, and it's on all the. I saw it on
Yeah.
Fox News. I saw
Yeah,
it.
you
on
could find anything,
Something so
yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
You know.
If you can find something that you know can do very well, it's not like I said. I mean, YouTube, you can find anything on there. People just doing dumb things, or like he's using as an example, somebody taking somebody's work and doing a good job with it. You know,
Well,
something like that.
YouTube, and I don't know if you all saw it. It was on YouTube last week, and it got 500,000 hits about the couple in Tennessee. They were married for 72 years. She was 89, the husband was 92. And she got arrested for stealing a can of pears. And they went to the judge. She got arrested, and they put her in front of a judge. And the judge, he was like the hanging judge in Tennessee, never gave anybody a break. So she's up there, and the judge says, "Why'd you steal the can of pears?" And she goes, "I was hungry." And the judge goes, "How many pears were in the can?" She goes, 6. She goes, "Well, you're going to get 6 days for jail, one for each." And she's
So this is
in
actually
Tennessee,
on
yeah,
YouTube?
yeah. And then all of a sudden,
Wow.
her husband, who was 92, he raised his hand and he wanted to speak to the court. And they had to carry him down. He had 2 canes, and the guys were holding him. He gets down there, and the judge says, "You want to address the court? You have something to say?" He says, "Yeah." He goes, "What is it?" He goes, "She also stole a can of peas."
Jim, that
that's
was
what it
very good. That was very good. So you could be on. You could. We were talking about. You never did stand-up comedy
Never.
before.
Jim says he's not.
But
good
see, that's
for comedy.
comedic act. That's
Yeah.
comedic acting.
Oh, yeah,
That's
absolutely.
comedic acting.
Just, you look at it.
See, he had us going there.
Yeah,
he
yeah,
really
that
did.
was good. I liked it.
617-708-3280. 617-708-8320. Bobby, if people wanted to contact you, who would they contact? How would they contact
Basically,
you?
I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
Bobby Kenny, Kenny.
John Fiore's good friend.
John K. Fiore's
John
good
K.
friend, sidekick. This guy's sidekick too. But I have a fan page, for lack of a better word, on there where I put all my short films. You go to the About, and then you click on it, and you'll see all the stuff, all the, what we're up to. But
And John Noonan, how would we get in contact with you?
I gave that girl that came out,
Yep.
I gave her my
So we have your information.
email address, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm on Facebook too.
All right.
The same thing.
Dana?
I'll have to talk to these guys and see what they want to do. But Dana McCarriston, Telltale High, YouTube.
Jim, that's a testament to your great acting skills because you had Bobby and I.
You
going.
had me.
You
I
really had
swear
us
to God.
going.
Not
and
too many people can do that.
People home watching the show are saying, "Who is that hanging judge?" It was in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Who is that
That's
hanging
right.
judge in Tennessee? We don't think we like him. And I like.
You had me going.
She stole the can of peas too. You did that very well.
Yeah,
Oh,
good
really?
job.
was he?
I was watching Tyrone one time after one of his sets. He was showing me how to do jokes, how to set it up, and that's how you set it up, by being conscious.
Bringing
serious.
everybody into it. Is that right?
That's right. And then hit him with a big one at the end.
Okay, for the benefit of our home audience, what's going on now for the next month and a half right here in the Bay State during the summer? Black
Mass continuation for the next 2 months, and then after that there was supposed to be another film coming in. I believe I heard this one from one of the people on the crew that they're going to start filming one in Weymouth about the 1944 two ships collided down the Cape, 2 tankers and stuff, and they never were found.
Oh, wow.
And they were supposed to find them. I guess this film is supposed to be for 5 months.
Provide a lot of actors some
That's right.
good days on the set.
That's what we
Gentlemen, thank you. Jim and I had a great time, and hopefully you had a
Thank you,
good time
guys,
too.
man.
Yep,
Thank
thank you too.
Thank you.
Yep.
John?
Thank you.
We want to thank all of the people here at BNN TV for helping us bring this program into your homes. It used to be, I used to say, thank you for letting us come into your home. Now we can say thank you for letting us come into your and in your what devices, internet,
Gadgets.
Cell phones.
phones, iPhones, right?
Widgets.
Everything.
Everything.
Thank you for allowing us to do that. We hope
your world.
To your world. That's a good way of saying it. We hope that you enjoy the show as much as Jim and I enjoyed bringing the show to you. A special thanks to all of those people here at BNN TV, cast and crew who helped bring this program into your home. For Jim and myself, have a great first day of summer next week. We'll see you July 11th. We'll be back with yet another program here on BNN TV.